Hello! It is Wednesday, March the 9th, and I am finally uploading a crafter's log. It's certainly been a while, right? I actually recorded this video last week, but there was a bit of a technical issue with some of the footage, so here we are a week later, finally getting it done. But I wanted to record this quick intro for you today because when I originally sat down to do it, the situation in Ukraine was very fresh and very raw. And looking back over that footage that I recorded last week, you can tell. I am visibly upset in parts of the introduction, and it's just a mess, and also some of the information I was giving is out of date now a week later. So I just thought I'd jump on and explain why you might find the Michelle in this video is not quite at 100% her usual level of perkiness. I'm sure you understand. Obviously, the war in Ukraine is ongoing. It may be ongoing for a really long time. And like I said in my community post last week, it is all too easy to feel helpless in the face of everything we see and read. But there absolutely are things we can do to help. We can donate to trustworthy causes, we can help support individual Ukrainian folks, we can stay informed and make sure we contact our representatives and urge them to do the right thing. I've added a few links in the description of this video for anyone looking for ways to get involved. To an extent, we're all still in shock that this kind of thing can even happen in 2022. But it has, and all we can do is take action as best we can and support the people who need it. Okay, on that note, I'm going to hand over to past Michelle as she pulls herself together and gets on with the video. See you on the other side. If you're new here, hello. My name is Michelle and I'm a proud multi-crafter who loves to make all of the things and encourage you to do the same. On this channel we have all kinds of project vlogs and tutorials, but also these monthly crafters log updates where we just have a nice chill catch up. So grab a cuppa and settle in. Now, even before the world went a bit mad, we have had a roller coaster of a time since my last update. Various dramas with family and friends, mild illnesses, and a briefly very hectic social calendar meant that I just haven't had as much time as usual for crafting. Which is why this is the first crafter's log since January. First on the calendar was Friendsmas, our rescheduled Secret Santa get-together with friends that had to be moved from December. We got to snuggle with the dogs, play board games, and eat just way too much. It was just really nice to see people, and I came out of the gifting with this Sock Piggy craft kit and this knitting-themed mug. Now, you might remember my little rant last time about the handmade gift mug that I got for Christmas, which turned out to be drop-shipped and also broke immediately. Well, since then I have had so many people reach out with links to mugs that you think I like. That made me smile so much. I can't believe you care enough to do that, so thank you if you are one of those people. I did mention last time that we'd secured a refund for that original mug and we were replacing it with a mass-produced novelty yarn mug instead. But would you believe it? That one broke immediately too. I swear I'm not using mugs wrong, I know how to pour water into a cup. Anyway, to sum up the current status of Muggate, I have my eye on a small British pottery shop, which I'll probably revisit in time for my birthday wishlist in May. But in the meantime, it was perfect timing to receive a surprise mug gift that, look, it's holding tea successfully. Never thought I'd see the day. On a less fun note, you might remember a while back we said we'd taken the difficult decision to sell our camper van because we're just not going to get a chance to use her for the next few years. Well, the time finally came, and despite knowing we will get another one eventually, it was tough to see her leave. But she gave us some brilliant memories, and I hope she'll be doing the same for someone else for a good while yet. The next weekend we found ourselves in Center Parcs, which, if you've never heard of it, it's a weirdly desolate middle-class holiday destination. You pay for the accommodation and you can go swimming for free, but everything else costs about £30 an hour. So obviously I spent the majority of my time there either swimming or crocheting in the villa, because no amount of living among middle-class people is going to make me pay £30 for an hour on a Segway. I will say though, if you're into squirrels, Center Parcs is a great time. And then the next weekend, yeah, see, hectic social calendar, was of course the Super Bowl. Fun fact, the people we hung out with here are the same people that I saw on March the 6th, 2020, which was my last ever night out before lockdown. Wow. Our hosts went a bit overboard with the decorations and it was a really great night. Congratulations to NFC North legend Matt Stafford on your Super Bowl win. You know, just in case he ever watches this video. It's basically taken me the whole rest of the month to recover socially from all of that and stop just flopping around dramatically staring at the ceiling. But I know we have a fair few introverts watching, so you get me. Okay, we are finally going to look at some cross-stitch. But before we move on to the meat of it, I have a confession to make. In my last crafter's log, I showed you these two projects, and I promised you that they would be re-entering my regular rotation. Yeah, I imagine you can see where this is going already. No progress on either of them. Nothing whatsoever. 0 stitches. I actually thought about putting a couple of stitches in on one of them this morning just so I could say I'd done something, but I don't think you would fall for that. We just had a lot on, it happens sometimes. I prioritised other things that seemed like more fun in the moment and no regrets. One of the projects that became top priority this month was Alpine by Satsuma Street. I remember last time saying that I was about to fill in the mountain peaks, and I'm not sure if I'd started the water yet or not, but I guess we'll see when I put it up on screen over here. But where did I get to this month, you ask? Ta-da! Actually not bad by my standards, right? This is decent progress. I have filled in most of the mountain peaks, there's a little bit still to go there. Obviously I've done the water down here, complete with reflections, and I've even finished off the little bits of cloud up here that had been outstanding for a while, those little white bits, because I was just too lazy to go back and do them. It's really all coming together, and there's not much to go now. Obviously there are just a few chunks here. There's this one stitch, can you see it there? That I somehow failed to do the first time round and need to revisit. The main problem is this green. You see the lighter green down in the corner there. This is a substitution for the called for colour, which I don't have. And it's too light and I don't like it. So I'm going to have to buy the real colour. However, I already had a floss order delivered this month and I kind of forgot to put that one on there. So I'm going to have to go to a real shop. I even know how I'm going to FFO this, which, like, that is really planning ahead by my usual standards. I'm very proud of myself. Not going to tell you though. You'll have to wait and see. So yeah, that is almost done. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm really excited to see it finished. But also, once that slot in my rotation is empty, I'm going to force myself to fill it with the pixels that made us Sal. Because I'm never going to start stitching on that ever again unless I really make myself do it. Sometimes you just gotta have a word with yourself. My other big stitching project right now, which is an absolute clip, but you'll just have to forgive me, is Autumn Stories. This obviously looks like nothing, so I'll put up a picture of what it's supposed to look like. The pattern is from Pain Free Crafts, based on artwork by an artist whose name I don't know how to pronounce, but I'll put it up on screen for you, and also she has her own website, so I'll link to that, as well as linking to the pattern in the description below. I know it's not much to look at, but this represents so many firsts for me. It's my first full coverage, first time using a Q-snap, and it's also the first time I've done cross-stitch on anything other than 14 count Ada. Last time you saw this project, it looked more like this. As you can see, I'd started stitching just with a few colours that I happened to own, and I'd priced out and was planning to buy the rest of the missing colours once the budget allowed. So this month I did that. I bought the new flosses along with a slightly last minute decision to add another floss for a project we'll talk about in a moment, and I've just spent all the time since filling in all of those gaps. According to Pattern Keeper, we are now at mighty 1.75% completion. I think we worked out when I hit 1% that if I kept that pace up, I would complete this in May 2026. So, I don't know, we'll see. I did take a week off since then. That's not going to help matters. But some weeks I'll probably be obsessed and do nothing else. So, I would be definitely interested to see, A, do I ever finish it? And B, how does it compare to that estimate? One thing you will notice is that I've got threads kind of everywhere. I thought I'd start off doing parking, and then it just sort of became its own thing. And then I've since discovered that parking has all these specific rules that I'm definitely not doing, so I guess I'm just making up my own system, and as I go, I'll settle, hopefully, on what makes sense for me. Trial and error, baby steps, etc. If anyone does have any tips for how you approach big patterns like this with a ton of confetti, I am all ears down in the comments. Please help me to not make a total mess of this project. Also, I nearly forgot to give you any actual information, but I'm stitching this 2/1 on 28 count ecru even weave. I believe it is DMC brand fabric. And last time I said that I was doing this tent stitch, but that kind of leads me on nicely to something I need to ask you all. Am I doing this all wrong? So, backstory, I first encountered the phrase tent stitch over on Shelby's Flosstube, and I knew instantly that this is what I was going to use for Autumn Stories. Previously, whenever I did just one leg of a cross stitch, I'd referred to it as half stitch. But then, when I heard Shelby say tent stitch, I just assumed that was kind of the official name for it. So I started calling what I was doing tent stitch and just carried on. But then, I saw a video by Ilonka. Despite the trauma she's caused me with all of this, you should definitely be watching Stitch Ilonka, where she used the phrases half stitch and tent stitch in the same sentence. So this threw me into a blind panic. Which one was I doing? Was I doing either of these stitches? Why do I not know the words even though I've been stitching since 2015? Thankfully, the internet came to the rescue and I found a series of very clear videos by Sarah Humphrey Embroidery, I don't know if I'm saying that right, where she showed us the difference between half stitch, tent stitch, and something called basket weave stitch. Turns out, right, those three all look the same from the front, so no wonder I was getting confused. But they all have their own specific rules on the back. In the tent stitch demo, she was even fastening off her thread after every row because apparently you need to stitch in the same direction on every row. This is blowing my mind. That seems insane to me. Is that how everyone else is doing their tent stitch? How does that work with confetti? I do not get it. Am I just some kind of anarchist throwing the good name of needlework into disrepute? Because let me tell you, I am doing none of those three stitches. I'm doing what I've decided to think of as the whatever makes sense at the time stitch, which sometimes looks a bit more like half stitch, sometimes it looks a bit more like basket weave stitch, and quite often it involves pulling absurdly long floats across the back because who has got time for anything else? So come on, be honest. Who's with me? Okay, so remember that mystery floss that turned up with the missing Autumn Stories colours earlier? This is DMC Coloris? I'm going to go with Coloris, in the Venice colourway. I have never used variegated thread of any kind before, but I've seen some beautiful projects using it, and I thought maybe I could give it a go with the Peppermint Purple Year of Blackwork SAL 2022. Which, you know, started in January and now it's March and I still haven't even picked my colours, but part of the delay is that none of the provided layouts or borders really jumped out at me, including the optional paired ones. Last time I did this SAL was 2020 and the layout was rectangular, which I really liked. I really love those simple, clean shapes. Rectangular is sadly not an option this year, but I sat down the other night determined to choose one, and I think I've settled on a solution. I'm going to stitch layout 2. I'm going to turn it on its side, so that it looks like it was always supposed to be that way. And then I'm going to design my own border, because there's nothing like making life difficult for yourself, right? To turn it into an overall rectangular shape. Problem solved. So after making that decision, I did a trial run with the new variegated floss. My first attempt wasn't great. It gave these really obvious vertical stripes of colour. Second attempt, a little better, slightly less obvious stripes. My third attempt, and we will ignore the lack of ironing, and we will also ignore that this is on a huge roll of fabric for no reason. That one worked out much better, I think. I'm really happy with how the colours blend into each other using this method. The problem, as I'm sure you can see, is that pale pink. You can't even see it when I'm holding it that far away. Hang on, I'll put it back. The blues and the purples look amazing, but that pale pink, it's just too light. It stands out like a sore thumb. I don't know. Each of these blocks will be outlined, so it won't be super unclear, but I just feel like maybe it doesn't go. I need to do some good, hard staring at this before I decide either way, I think. But that wasn't the main problem I had. The main problem was with the floss itself. We are all familiar, or at least I hope it's not just me, with that moment where you have a tangle in your thread and you yank it just a little bit too hard and ping, it snaps in half. Now, this thread wasn't so much snapping as just sort of disintegrating in my hands. And I didn't know if maybe that's normal for colorists, so I put out a plea for help on Instagram and asked people who've used it before. Consensus is, nope, I just have a crap skein. So serves me right for stepping outside my comfort zone, I guess. I will say though, one other person did report having had the same problem in the past, so this is by no means an isolated incident to me. Currently, if I do decide I want to keep using this colourway for the project, my plan is to just chop a bit off the beginning of the skein and see if maybe it's a little bit more solid further in. If not, I don't know, maybe I'll take it as a sign. Maybe I should go back to my plan to use multiple solid colours instead. We'll see. Really good thing this sal is so easy to catch up on, right? If you're enjoying this perhaps too honest look into the state of my crafting, please remember to leave this video a like as it lets me and also YouTube know that I have value as a person. And if you really want to make my day, please go ahead and subscribe for more crafters logs, tutorials, project diaries and whatnot. Okay, so before I show you any of my yarny projects, I just want to take a moment and let you know that the astonishingly red Lorelei cardigan that I made for my grandma at Christmas officially fits. We just went to visit for the first time this year and I had to take the opportunity to get some photographs as proof. Honestly, I must have been so much more worried about this than I thought I was, because when I saw it fit, it was just like an actual weight off my shoulders. First surprise gift wearable where I had to estimate the size. Success! That is the Lorelei cardigan crochet pattern by Denny Sharp on Ravelry. She goes by Denny Made on Instagram, and I will recommend this pattern to anyone and everyone for the rest of my life. Alright, so the other big news is that February is now officially over, and the soft deadline for our Cozy Along projects is now. If you're not familiar, myself and my good friend Mary over at Wilbury Knits a Lot decided that in the depressing post-festive months, what we really needed was to just work on something comfortable, cozy, that made us happy. And we invited other people to join in too. We ended up with all sorts of projects coming in the name of coziness, from sweaters to stitching to more sweaters to toys to yet more sweaters to autumnal dice bags and matching dice. I started 2 projects. The first was Autumn Stories, which obviously I had no intention of finishing by February, but the other was the Layla Swan Show by the aforementioned Denny Sharp. I swear she doesn't sponsor my channel, I just really like her patterns, and she's the only designer that I've ever found who has the same tension as me. Anyway, I decided to try Lion Brand Mandala yarn, which is the same as is used in the cover photos on Ravelry, but I thought it would be fun to get a little bit weird with it. So I settled on the Warlock colourway, which has pretty much every colour in my assigned capsule wardrobe palette, but a few other colours besides. For example, I am not supposed to be making anything wearable in red. Very naughty. But in my defence, this yarn was already bought and assigned to this project before those rules came in place, and also this thing is wild enough that I don't think it really needs to go with everything. I don't think you'll be able to make head nor tail of that when I'm holding it so close, so we'll rely on some hastily taken demo pictures instead. Overall, the effect of the yarn is great, but it wasn't without its problems. I bought 3 cakes of this in total for the project, and the first 2 were pretty much identical. The third one started from a different point in the colour repeat, so I knew ahead of time I would probably need to rewind that one and maybe there would be some minor surgery involved, but like the genius I am, I decided to leave that until it was time to attach the final cake. The lesson here is to sort out your yarn before you start, because it turned out that last cake was missing a part of the colour repeat. Halfway in, where this lighter purple section should be, there was a knot attaching the dark purple straight to the beige. An entire cake without any of the light purple in it at all. Sadly, you will also note the lack of tassels on this, which is because, again, in my infinite genius, I kind of misread the pattern and the yarn requirements, and yeah. The less said the better. That will be remedied just as soon as I need enough stuff to warrant an entire yarn order, but in the meantime, those tassels are officially optional in the pattern, so I'm counting this as complete, and there's nothing you can do about it. Oh, I love it so much. I'm pushing 40 and I'm wearing a multicolored granny cluster poncho with sleeves. This is exactly the kind of growing old disgracefully that childhood me would be really proud of me for. In knitting news, somehow still on the needles, is the first of my Drippity Drop socks, patterned by K.F. Jones on Ravelry. I have been working on this sock, this one single sock, since at least last December. I've said a few times on this channel that sock knitting tends to be my background project. It's just sort of kept near me at all times for if we go out in the car somewhere, or if I just have 10-15 minutes sitting and I can put a few rounds in. But now you see how true that was, because it's been at least 3 months and I am still not quite done with the first of these socks. Actually, this probably would have been completed already if it wasn't for me repeatedly mucking up the toe. I don't know if you can see there, but it has a weird toe construction that I've never seen before. Instead of doing the usual decreases down the side, which is what I would consider a normal toe, it has you do a round with a lot of decreases evenly spaced around it, and then knit straight for a few rounds, and then do another decrease round all the way to the end. I don't know, I guess it's kind of gathering the toe together rather than making those neat lines down the side. I figured I would go with it and see what it's like, because you never know until you try it. In fact, all I have left to do here is to Kitchener stitch those last couple of stitches on the end there, and I couldn't even be bothered to do that for you for the video, so that says a lot about me. One big reason I've made so little progress on this is because half the time that I'm supposed to be knitting on it, I'm just sort of staring at the yarn and how beautiful it is. I think this might be my favourite yarn I've ever used. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is Fear of the Dark colourway by Castle View Yarns. I will link them in the description, although I'm not sure if this colourway is even still available because it's been quite a while. Let's just sit in silence for a moment and stare at it. Stunning! Okay, am I doing any other knitting or anything? I don't think so. It feels like I'm missing something, but if so, I'll just add it into the next one. There's not even much to report this time round in terms of other crafts. I'm still working on trying to bring my idea of the perfect black and purple dice into reality. You can see in this photo it looks like I've cracked it. See that beautiful purple colour? I did find a colourant that doesn't turn brown when curing, which was the old problem. But the problem with these ones is that that photo is very specifically lit and angled to look like that, and if you don't specifically light and angle it, you just kind of get black dice. So yeah, there is a plan for that. Maybe I will have better news to report next month, fingers crossed. And yeah, it was supposed to be a gift for Christmas. Harry, if you're watching this, I'm trying my best, okay? It is harder than it looks. I've done 0 sewing, 0 needle felting, 0 much of anything else this month, really. But I did have to take this tatting shuttle out of the packet the other day, because you may have seen my Q-snap guide that I published last week, and to spare you all the horror of my actual nails, I put falsies on. Problem with that is I couldn't open the charging port on my camera with false nails on, so I had to use the tiny hook on the end of there to get under the plastic flap and open it up. Oh my god, I should not be admitting these things in public. Anyway, now it's open, I may as well learn to tat lace, right? I mean, I've heard worse reasons to do things. Just go with it, it's fine. And of course I have that sock piggy craft kit to work on as well, which I might actually do later today because I feel like it's probably difficult to be too down and stressed when you are cuddling a brightly coloured sock pig. So, nearly 2 months since my last update, and I feel like there was really very little to show for it. But that comes with the territory. If you didn't know how slow a crafter I am before, you certainly do now. Today I want to sign off with something just a little bit different. I know there are a lot of people out there who watch my channel who have YouTube channels of their own, and I try to keep up with them as much as I possibly can. But with the recent influx of new subscribers, I feel like quite a lot of you might have fallen between the cracks. So, if you have any kind of crafty YouTube channel, or let's just say any YouTube channel at all that you think we might like, please feel free to share a bit about it in the comments below. Now, important note, do not add a direct link to your channel in the comment because YouTube will automatically remove it and I won't be able to get it back. But just tell us a little bit about you and your videos, and hopefully I and everyone else down in the comments can find some nice new channels to follow. I think that is everything. I hope wherever you are staying safe and well. Please do take care of yourself and others, and remember to check out those resources I've linked down in the description for ways to support the people in Ukraine. I will be back next week with some more crafty nonsense, so in the meantime, have a brilliant rest of your day and keep making cool stuff.